Hello, I'm Marcy Sepulveda, and I'm here with my good friend Jennifer Ames. Jenny is one of the most successful realtors in the country and a licensed partner with Engel and Völkers here in Chicagoland. And I've invited Jenny here today because I would like her to share her experiences in putting together one of the most important deals in Chicagoland this year. Thank you so much for being here today, Jenny. I really appreciate your time. And first, can we start by you telling us a little bit about the property?
Sure. So this is a magnificent property. It was built as a custom house in, I believe it was 2005, on the equivalent of 8 city lots. It was designed by Thomas Beebe, who's a really well-known architect, and it was done in a very sort of elegant European style. So it's got a massive limestone facade, beautiful gardens in the back with fountains and a gazebo, and inside the house has amazing finishes, a lot of custom millwork, a gorgeous central staircase, beautiful marble inlaid floors. So it's a very grand home.
And why is this a significant story in Chicagoland these days?
Well, we're not Beverly Hills. So you don't see houses on this scale very often, and certainly not in this price range. Chicago is certainly the best kept secret, in terms of value. But this house started on the market 8 years ago at $50 million. So I think that's kind of where it first hit the news, and everybody's watched the journey through the market, see where it would land in Chicago.
And you were able to bring the buyer in and get this property closed at 15 million 250. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
I was hoping that you could kind of just share with us that journey and how you got it from there to here, and how this all went down.
Sure. So I have a client who lives in Chicago, had already owns a home here, and who had been following it and expressed an interest in taking a look. So this is August. Roll the clocks back to September. So almost a year ago, we went and toured the home. At the time, it was 29 million. So it was still a pretty high price. And we looked at it and there was some interest, but this isn't like a relocation or something. This isn't a necessary move. This was a if it worked out kind of a move. And so we looked at it, and my clients crunched some numbers and thought about what it would take and got an idea of at what level they could afford and buy the house. And then we started a conversation, and the conversation has evolved over all these months. I think we finally put pen to paper in the fall, later in the fall. I think it was November. Right around that time, they lowered the price. I think it came down to 23 million. And the seller was confident that at that price it was going to fly off the shelves. And we just kind of stood our ground and said, well, this is where we're comfortable. And if that happens, great.
So can you tell me how far away was the original offer from the final offer? Did that have many junctions in between, or was it just one move?
I don't want to say too much about it, except that we didn't come up much. So my client had a really good idea of what they could afford and where they felt comfortable. One of the challenges when you have a house like this is that it's really painful for the seller if they've put significantly more into the house. And we all know in real estate, what someone spends does not translate into what it's worth, right? I try and counsel my clients on the sales side that they made those improvements for their own enjoyment. People improve their home for their own lifestyle. They don't do it because they think it's an investment and they're going to get their money out. At least they shouldn't. And in this case, I think that was why it took so long, because it was a process for the seller to sort of come to grips with what the market was willing to spend.
Do you know if there were other offers, or were you guys the only one at this level?
The brokers did share with us that there were other interested parties, and I believe that they might have had another offer or two while we were in conversation, but it was not clear. It was never like a multiple offer, highest and best.
And
I don't think that really happens at this rate.
you've been in Chicagoland and working here for quite some time, and you're very well known. And you work with a lot of the agents, and I know that you have a good relationship with the seller's agent. How
Yeah.
much did that play into all of this? Did you think that was helpful? Did it matter that your relationship was that strong?
I don't think this could have ever happened if it wasn't for the level of experience and professionalism of everybody involved. You know, um, it was a complex transaction. There was a lot of moving parts, a lot of different decision makers. There were elements of this deal that were not your typical residential deal that we had to work through, and it took smart people at the table, and that's what we had, and that's why it worked. And I have to say, it's a pleasure working with the brokers on the other side.
Yes, I know them too. They're awesome, and one of the reasons that I wanted to do this interview with you was that people ask me all the time, how do I get into the luxury market? And they read our
Yeah,
articles, and they all want to get into the luxury market. And I contend that there's not a magic bullet here. It takes experience, it takes time, and so I feel like somebody like you needed to be able to do this sale, and that maybe
yeah,
the average agent isn't at this level yet. What are some of
yeah.
the things that helps you get to this level? I mean, this was a repeat client of yours. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, yeah. It was a client I've known for a long time. Um, I think that there's a number of attributes that were essential to our being able to pull it together. One was, of course, starting with the analytical side, assessing the value, helping give my client a sense, even though it's a one of a kind property, somehow, somewhere, we had to arrive at what we thought it was worth. So I needed to know how to dig deeper into the data and help, come up with an estimated value and a strategy there. Um, uh, Knowing how to keep your emotions in check and be professional at all times was really important. This was a long game. This wasn't a quick one. Most of us think we take a listing and we might have it for several months, but you don't often think that you're going to start with a buyer with a single property and it would take almost a year, to close it up. But here it was the long game. It was not being emotional, not getting upset when we didn't get what we didn't succeed when we first made an offer, or secondly made an offer, or thirdly made an offer. It was just being patient. It was being collaborative. I think collaborative is really important for us at Engel and Völkers, and knowing that we all had the same goal, and we just it was a journey to get there. Um, Keeping everybody engaged and calm and informed, and then also discretion is really important. But I think there is still an opportunity to learn for brokers from the experience, which is that sometimes people come in and they're like, oh, my client's so important and this is so much money and you should take it and run, and they get all wound up, and that doesn't help anybody. Like, everybody needed to take a deep breath, and we worked our way through it, and we had some bumps, and it's a big house. It was a lot of work for the seller to get out. My objective is not just to do a sale, it's to be a resource. And I think, when I'm working with my sellers, like, some people need a lot of support, but especially at the high end. People at the high end are accustomed to having people work for them, do things for them. And so to be effective, you need to have this toolkit of vendors that can support your clients.
Well, Jenny, everybody looks to you for some advice with luxury, and I'm sure I will continue to do that. You've always been a great resource for me and for our readers. And I really appreciate your time today and sharing this experience with us. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Thank you so
All
much. I
right.
really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Marcy.